I'm John Gustafson. I've been in the high performance community for 40 years. And something like 25 years ago, I realized that the number one issue in building supercomputers was their energy efficiency. This is largely because you want to be able to put the processors as close to each other as possible, and you're limited by the ability to remove heat. So being energy efficient means speed. Now it's also cost. I don't know if you've followed the training of Chat GPT and these other large language models, but when they did Chat GPT, the energy required to train it cost almost $1 billion. So this issue has never been more important to the community. So the issue of really high efficiency computing has never been more central to the issue of supercomputing. So this is why I'm so pleased that Natalie has put together this group and maintained it over the years and pushed for higher energy efficiency. You don't have to be a tree hugger to care about this kind of thing. It is really important just from a technological aspect.
Hi, I'm Satoshi Matsuoka, Director of Riken Center for Computational Science. At our center, we facilitate a very large supercomputer, probably one of the biggest in the world in high-performance computing, Fugaku, the machine, which sports nearly 160,000 nodes and consumes, on the average, 16 to 20 megawatts of power. And at peak times, it could consume up to 35 megawatts, which is as much as the entire Tokyo Disney resort. Now, but when you look at the machine in an individual node basis, then you'll find that dividing, let's say, 60 megawatts by 160,000, it's only 100 watts per node. And these are high performance HPC nodes that you might find for like Intel and so forth, which typically would consume maybe 400 watts or so. So Fugaku is extremely power efficient, and that's why we can scale up to this size. And this demonstrates the fact that in high performance computing, energy efficiency is one of the most important factors in being able to scale to such a large machine to the extent that we can solve some of the most difficult problems. Now, with the advances in AI, this is becoming much more prevalent because now HPC is no longer a niche, but rather it is mainstream computing. And because of this, we want to facilitate data centers with even more number of GPUs, which may be high power consuming. So you hear of stories like 100 megawatts, 200 megawatts, or even gigawatt data centers. And with concern regarding the data centers consume too much power, that will stress the grid. And that's why energy efficiency is even more tantamount. The energy efficient high performance computing working group led by Natalie has been really on top, trying to get on top of this problem by having a forum where information can be shared on how to achieve such energy, very good energy efficiency, as well as concretizing the efforts by, for example, setting standards with respect to benchmarking the greenness of these machines, namely the Green 500. So we believe that such an effort is utterly important moving forward. And I would advise you to come and look at what the working group has done. And even better, try to join and contribute to the efforts to achieve power efficiency. One, of course, is to save money, but also to be responsible for the planet's well-being, for our sustainability.
Hello, I'm Gert Svensson from KTH in Stockholm, and I work at the Supercomputer Center, PDC, there as the deputy director. And I've been a member of the working group for a long time, and I think it's really interesting for me. We are getting a lot of contacts all over the world which are dealing with the same problem as we are doing. And it's also really nice to be able to participate in discussions about future technology and people who has similar experience of big computer system as we have. But it's also quite interesting to, or nice to be able to, yeah, get to learn people all over the world with has similar experience. And that is really nice because you can call them up later or contact them if you have some issues and uh, discuss with them quite freely. You get to learn both people and culture in different countries, which is hard to do otherwise.
Hi, my name is Jim Rogers. I'm the facilities director at the Computing and Computational Sciences Directorate at Oak Ridge National Lab. I've been here 17 years, matter of fact, 18 tomorrow. And in that role, I've been responsible for the computing and facilities strategy, kind of near to mid to long term, in terms of making sure that as computing um, facilities demands change, that we are prepared for that. Um, so if I look back to 2003 when the data center was first opened and the first machine was put in here, um, the data center space was fairly small. It was about 15,000 square feet, and they had a maximum of 3 megawatts of power available. And we look forward to today, and we have 60 megawatts of power and 65,000 square feet of space. And the power densities have increased just with every generation, to the point that honestly, we don't have enough power, space, or cooling now. So that's kind of how I spend my day, is figuring out what we're going to do for the next generation of facilities to support these higher and higher density systems. There is absolutely a convergence of HPC and AI and quantum. I think that's without a fact. I mean, let's just restart that. So there is absolutely a convergence of HPC and AI and quantum. That's undeniable. We also see the power densities continuing to go up. We see significant complexities in how we're going to cool or remove the waste heat from these. We see very difficult sustainability issues in terms of how do you deal with all that waste heat? What's the right way to get rid of it? How do you deal with water? And these are really pressing problems. As we look to the future, it's only getting worse. You nowadays you don't hear about 20 or 30 or 50 megawatt data centers. You hear about 100, 200, 300, 500, even 1,000 megawatt data center. So there are huge problems that we need to solve as these demands continue. So that's the sort of thing that I do for Oak Ridge National Lab and really enjoy. The pivot, and I think maybe the reason that we're here, is a lot of it is the community, right? So the topics are clearly of interest. We're all pursuing very similar problems of scalability or resiliency or utilization or efficiency or heat reuse or whatever those are. There's lots of those common things. Um, I have been part of Natalie's EE HPC working group, gosh, easily for 15 years, right? And it was a little smaller then. It's really gotten quite large, and this working group provides a community and a structure that allows us to leverage best practices across globally, right across the entire world. So It's been great to be a part of this because, honestly, because of the contacts, right? I can work with associates in Europe or in Asia, just all over the place, who have seen similar problems, and we found solutions to them, regardless of what you might do for your organization, or whatever your real interests are. The beauty is that the EE HPC has now gotten broad enough that it probably touches the things that are of interest to you. So, honestly, I think that that's probably one of the greatest, the greatest contributions.